All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Derek Mitchell, and we have been going live every day for the week talking about Photoshop. So, the last few days, we've been working on a project, and yesterday we worked on a brand new brand for a company that my wife has started called Freelance Circus. So, today we're going to be pushing that a little bit further, creating some apparel, and I'm going to show you how to create that in Photoshop. We're going to work with some textures, some brushes, some vector assets, and we're going to take all of that and we're going to be able to put that into a file that you could upload to a platform like Printful and have it on Shopify and actually sell this thing. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm looking at your guys' comments. If you're streaming live today, go ahead and jump in the comment feed for those of you who are seeing that. And then also let me switch views here real quick. So what we're gonna do is one thing I want to give a couple shout outs and some housekeeping. So this is part of a series. Let me pull it up real quick, that I'm working on called, it's a Photoshop Live, and it gets replayed in our vault, in our member area. So if you're not a member, definitely check that out. You can go to courses.derekmitchell.com/vault. Let me pull this up real quick. There we go. All right, so right now the vault is open. If you guys are interested in checking this out, you can actually download all of the assets and you're going to get access to everything that I've ever created, all the courses, all of the bonus materials, and even a Slack group where you guys can instant message me directly and I can help you out. It's kind of like a coaching platform. There's a lot of stuff in there, so definitely check that out. And then here is the Freelance Circus. If you go to freelancecircus.com, you can see currently it's just a landing page, but go ahead and drop in your name and email if you're interested in learning more. Basically, Jenna and I are going to be working on it's kind of also like another coaching platform that's going to help for those of you who want to actually take these skills as a designer and push them even further and start a career as a freelancer. So that's what this is going to be about. And we're actually working on this brand today. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, and right now we're going to be working on building these assets. So just kind of watch if you want to. If you're watching the replay and you want the assets, there'll be a Dropbox link. You can grab all the assets and play around with them. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so we are going to, let's see, where do we want to begin? There's so much we can do. So yesterday we kind of played around with this file. We created a sweatshirt, learned how to do some color overlays. We brought in this new Freelance Circus logo and just started to kind of get things going, get things in motion. We also played around with this mobile and desktop version of a Facebook cover, just kind of, again, exploring some different looks and just showing you some different techniques. So today what I want to do is we are going to create a sweatshirt that we can actually sell online. So let's go ahead and jump into this real quick. So I've got a Shopify store. And I also have a course in the vault where I show exactly how I set everything up. So I'm not going to go into that right now. But basically, we're using an app called Printful. And inside of here, you can create all kinds of apparel and custom printed products. So I'm just going to scroll through real quick. We've got some men's clothing, all kinds of shirts, jackets, hoodies, pants, shorts. We've got women's clothing, kids' clothing, hats, accessories, home and living. Lots of great products that you can work with. So what you would do is just pick any one of these. And right now I have just a generic sweatshirt already pulled up that we can start working with. And so what I want to show you is how to, oh, and you can't even see all of this. Great. I've got the wrong screen pulled up. Sorry, guys. I'm doing 100 things here. Just trying to, there we go. Now you can see it. Should we do that again real quick? All right. We've got the Shopify store. I was showing you this link here with Printful, all of the different things you can make. So check that out when you get a chance. It's printful.com. So that's what we're using today. So this is the sweatshirt we're going to be diving into. And the way that we're going to get started is this big red button that just says start designing. So I'm going to click on this. And you'll see we can design all sorts of areas on the sweatshirt from the left sleeve to the right sleeve. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. Outside label. So this would be right on the back, behind the neck, kind of right between your shoulders. And then we've got the inside label. So this would be, your garment size and things like that. All right, so let's go ahead and design this thing. So if you don't have Photoshop and you want to just start designing it, you can actually jump right in and start adding text or clip art. Or you can upload a file. And that's what we're going to be doing today is we are actually going to be designing the front file for this sweatshirt. So let's go ahead and come back to this product tab. And right here, this little link that says product info, pricing, and guidelines. I'm going to click on this and I can see print file templates. So I'll click on that. All right, so these are all the different sizes or the different placement options we have, as well as the different sizes to work with. So go ahead and download this file. And I've already done that. So let me just jump back into Photoshop and we'll show you, first of all, I guess in Finder, what it gives us. So we've got the back and the front file. We're gonna jump into the front. And I have a PNG file. If I hit the spacebar to preview that, I can see the document that they have here, the template. And then also we have a PSD editable Photoshop file. So that's what we're going to use to get started on this project here. And I think I must have closed it. Let's go ahead and pull that back up real quick. So I'm just going to grab this PSD, this front file. It's a 12 by 12. I'm just going to click and drag and throw it right into Photoshop. I guess I could have double clicked, whatever. But now I have this open in Photoshop and I'm gonna go ahead and save this. I'm gonna go to File, Save As. Photoshop has been crashing on me a ton lately, so we're gonna try and save as we go. We're gonna jump into our freelance circus project. We've got the brand, we've got mockups. This one I'm actually gonna call apparel. I'm gonna create a new sweatshirt or a hoodie. Click create and we'll just throw it right in there for now. So my wife, actually I had the idea, but my wife drew it up after I said, we are going to make this. Let's see if you can see me real quick. All right. So this thing called, I joined the circus, not called, that's what it says. So we're going to try and make this graphic. I joined the circus. For those of you who joined the freelance circus. All right. So let's get back to work here and we are going to save this as, let's see, join the circus. If I can type, if I can spell correctly. All right, join the circus. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. All right, so this is our graphic. Let's take a look at our layers panel. And I've got kind of a custom view right here. If you want to see kind of what I'm looking at, let's just reset this. I'm going to click over here in the top right, or you can come up here to window, down to workspace and reset this to graphic and web. And then I'm going to go back here again and click on reset graphic and web just to make sure. Okay, so now you and I should be seeing the same thing. And what I basically did is I came over here and I ripped off this tab for the layers palette just so I can kind of see my full stack of layers here. I've got my libraries with assets and I think we're good to go. So let me move a couple windows here. All right, so next we want to design this. So in the layers palette, I've got this guide and you would turn this off before you actually send this off to press. So I would turn off that layer and I would save it and my artwork would be right here where it says place graphic here. All right, let's go ahead and make something. So what I'm going to do is turn off this guide. I don't need it right now. And I'm going to bring in the freelance circus logo that we made. And the scale looks pretty good here. I guess I could scale it up a tiny bit. Hit return. Now I'm going to hit Command A to get a selection around my entire canvas. With my, I'm going to hit the letter V to make sure I've got my move tool selected. And then in the options bar up here, I'll see the option to align it horizontally and center it. Centered, horizontal, whatever. You get the idea. Vertical and horizontal center. Now I'm going to, the other thing too I want to point out, guys, I found a cool app called Visualize. And basically it lets you see my keyboard shortcuts. So in this case, I was about to tell you I'm going to hit Command D to deselect. But if you look at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see the shortcut. So I'm going to go ahead and stop saying what I'm doing. And if you need to, you can just replay this video and follow along. All right, next, what I want to do is, I guess, you know, if we put this on a white hoodie, I could go with this kind of teal color, but I want to add some texture to this. So what I'm going to do is jump over to a website called Texture King. Let me find that real quick. So textureking.com has lots of great free textures. So I'm just going to scroll down here and you can either view all textures or see what was recently added. I'm just going to grab this texture right here. And we'll open it up or click download now. You could also right click and save as. And I'm going to throw this in my, basically anything that I use to create an asset, I like to keep it in that folder. So we're going to jump over to the freelance circus. We're going to jump over to the brand and the apparel and the hoodie. I'm going to make a new folder called assets. And we're just going to save this full photo right in there. Now we'll open this back up. Go to my brand, go to my apparel, go to my hoodie, my assets. There's that. Going to click and drag right into Photoshop. And this is when Photoshop usually crashes for me, so hopefully it hangs tight today. Hey, what's up, Mitch? Yeah, you're late. It's all right. I was late too. Thanks for joining in the chat. Let me know. So yeah, dude. So Mitch is the one that told me about these keystroke apps, and the one that he showed me was called Keycaster, which I tried, and it's awesome. But what I didn't like about it, real quick, a little bit of a side note for anybody wanting to do some live broadcasts, is that when it was on, let's see here. This might not work. This might be a train wreck. Okay, so here's the Keycaster app down here in the bottom left, and I liked it, but what I didn't like is when I was holding down like spacebar, it did that kind of stuff right there, which was super not helpful. But let's jump into Photoshop and do that. There we go. Anyway, it was cool. It was working pretty good. It's this little app down here. Not bad for free. But I actually ended up spending a little bit of money to get this app that I'm using now called Visualize. But hey, Mitch, thanks again for tuning in and sharing that shortcut with me. So we've got this image pulled up. We've got this texture, and I want to do something with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this layer and hit Command J. Guys, I can't turn it off. I keep saying the shortcuts. I'm going to try to not to, so I don't annoy you. But we're going to jump cut this into its own layer. I'm going to turn off the background for now. And I'm going to, let's see, image, adjustments, and we want threshold. We'll click right there. And now basically with threshold, it turns anything black or white. There is no in between. And so as you scrub left or right, changing the threshold, you can either get a lot or a little bit of whatever the image has for you. So what we're going for, so I could go all the way to this side of things and use some of the splatter as a brush. We're just trying to get some textures where I'm showing you here. Or I can come all the way to the light end of things, depending on, again, what your image is, trying to dial in something. I don't want too much. I'm going to go for about like this. I'm going to click OK. And we're going to get my lasso tool. And for some reason, Photoshop has kept it on the hand tool. But I do have the lasso tool selected. What's going on here? I feel like this version of Photoshop has been a little bit buggy for me. I don't know if anybody else has had that experience or not. But I've got my hand tool selected. And now it's just stuck on the hand tool. Well, that's neat. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is make a selection with my lasso tool. And then with the selection, I would come up and I'd go to Define Brush. All right, so I'd go to Edit, down to Define Brush Preset. So if I had a selection and I click Define Brush Preset, we're just going to do it over the whole thing. All right, so now this whole image is going to be a brush for me now. And I can name it whatever I want. Derek's Sample Grunge Texture Brush. Okay, don't make your brushes names these long. I'm just this long, whatever. But there we go. Okay, so now I've got a new brush in my brush library. And again, what I would have done is just made a small selection just around a little bit of the texture that I wanted. And now if I jump over into this graphic, in theory, fingers crossed, hey, good news, I've got my cursor back. That's good news. We're heading the right direction. And what I want to do is add a mask on this vector image. So I'm going to click down here on the Add Layer Mask shortcut. And making sure I'm painting on the layer mask that we have here, it should be selected with black. Whatever's in my foreground will be what I'm painting with. So remember, black hides, white reveals. So we're going to be painting with black with a grunge brush. So I'm going to hit the letter B to get my brush tool. And in the options bar, it looks like the brush that I just made is already selected. And it might not be. It might be from something else that I did. But we're going to go ahead and roll with it, okay? So we'll click on that. I'm going to click back over in here. And you'll notice it starts to paint with that dark texture that I made. And so I'm just kind of adding some some fade to this. So it's really difficult to see. Let me change the color of this layer. So I'm going to click on my vector smart object here in my layers, and down here I'm going to click on effects, and I want to add a color overlay just so you can see this a little bit better. And we'll just make it black for now so you really see this. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and then I'm going to throw a layer behind it. So by holding down Command before I click on the new layer, it'll throw it behind whatever I was selected on. And let's fill this with a color, a bright color, something, I don't know. So you can see, man, that still doesn't work good on the broadcast. I'm not seeing it very good. All right, well, let's add more texture just so you can really see this thing. I'm just going to click like crazy. There we go. All right, you're starting to see how this is really eroding away at the my spacebar keyboard shortcut is really freaking out here. But I'm using spacebar to get my hand tool, and I hold that down to kind of scrub around. All right, so hey, yeah, Mitch says the Creative Cloud app crashed on him the other day after an update. PS has been working fine. Yeah, for me, part of it, something else I want to show you guys too, side note. So yesterday's stream was really struggling. Things were really not going well, but part of it was I was trying to record my camera in 4K and broadcast and use Photoshop. But what I did, so that way Photoshop hopefully is a little more stable today, I went into Photoshop, I went down to Preferences, and then down to Performance. And then I told Photoshop, I gave it permission to use 75% of my system. You can just scrub this wherever you want, how much Photoshop can use, available RAM, that is. So that's my memory usage. And then I went into, what did I do? Let me think about this for a second. I went into the advanced settings, and I told it, interesting, but it's not turned on right now. I told it could use, I just clicked everything. I just said, yes, use everything you can to not suck at life and don't die. So anyway, you can control how Photoshop performs if you find issues. The other thing you can do is you can optimize your cache levels. And so right now it's set for, you can just click on these to set it, whether it's default or huge pixel dimensions. Like if you're somebody who works on like huge banners and stuff for print, you might change it to that. Or if you're doing lots of web and UI design, it just changes how it behaves. And I don't know if it's going to save this until I restart, but just be aware that that's there. And then the other thing you can do is come into scratch disks, and you can tell it if you've got an external drive, or let's say your main hard drive is full, but you've got something else connected and you want it to have more space to think, you can control its preferences there as well. All right, so hopefully that helps you out. Okay, so let's jump back into this graphic. What I want to do to get this onto that sweatshirt is, what did I do? Why is this freaking out, this visualizer app? Let me check this real quick, guys. It should be working fine. I don't know, whatever. Here we go. I'm going to turn off this background color, and I'm going to turn off that color overlay just so it stays that teal color. And then I'm going to come and save this. And then let's export it. Now I could just right click and do a quick export as a PNG, or I can come up here and go to File, Save As, or Export as PNG, and there's a shortcut. So there's lots of different ways to do the same thing. If we go to Save As, comes a drop-down menu and change that to a PNG. We're all doing the same thing here, like literally nothing different. And let's throw this right in here. Join the circus 12 by 12, and I'm going to give this an underscore front name, just so that way if I design more panels, I'll know which one is which, and we'll click Save. Thanks, Mitch, for the feedback. Appreciate that. All right. Large file size, fastest saving, medium file size, small. Okay, so what's going on here? When you get this dialog box for a PNG, if you save it as the large file size, the reason why it's fast is it's not compressing anything. It's just literally throwing it out. But if you want to actually compress it for you and make it a smaller file size, it'll run its magic on it and make it a smaller, but it thinks about it, so it takes a little longer. I'm just going to click OK. I want it to be the largest file size. I want it to print as nicely as possible. So now I've got my graphic here, and you'll notice I gave myself a little bit of a margin. If I just draw right here on the side, you can kind of see the space between the end of the document on both sides, okay? So that, I don't know if, it just depends on the platform you're going to. You may or may not need that. With Printful, I probably could have gone right up to the edge, but I just kind of get in the habit of giving myself space, what we call margin or padding. And let me think about what we're doing here. I'm going to jump back into Chrome, and we are going to jump over to the other window. I think was this one. Nope. Is it this one? All right. Let's see what happens here. I don't know if I'm logged in, and with my Keycaster, I don't want to broadcast passwords and stuff going live. So hopefully this works. We'll see. What we're going to do is come over to our options here, and just I don't want this to turn into a Printful tutorial per se, but things to be aware of is you can right now we're on printing. DTG stands for direct to garment. So they literally run the garment right through a printer and it prints ink directly onto the garment. So that's what that stands for. We can choose our base color. So we've got that teal design. It would work well on any one of these colors, I think. Probably the best on white. And then we are going to upload our file. So I can click here to do it, or I think if I go over here to design, I've got that upload file option as well. I think it does the same thing. I don't know. Let's see what happens. So let's click upload. Yeah. Okay. I accept. I need to grab this freelance circus, brand, apparel, hoodie. There's that PNG. Let's open it and see what happens, guys. Yeah, Mitch, that performance tab on Photoshop is a huge benefit, especially if you're working with big print files. It'll help Photoshop run smoother and not bring it to its knees. All right. Refresh the page. All right, let's refresh the page. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. Let's try again. I'll come down here. And so something else you can do too, I don't know if you can upload different artwork per size. I have no idea. Something you have to play with, guys. Let's go and upload the file. I'm going to have to give Ryan and Neil and Christina and everybody else who's not in the chat a hard time for not showing up today. What the heck, guys? All right. All right. Stores, file library, my files. I want to upload that graphic that we just made. There we go. Click open. Please work. Sweet. All right. I think we're in business. It's thinking about it. It's thinking about it. Yes. All right. Click on the file to continue. All right. Well, I choose that file. Look, guys, check this out. All right. So now I can click and drag. It shows me the print area, and I'm locked in based on what their limitations are for printing, but I can move this up on the chest or down. But basically I have this entire box. You know, maybe you want to scale it down and make it more like a little business logo up here, or you want to scale it up. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend scaling larger than your file is. So if you want it to be bigger, bring it in at the size. Don't scale it up in this platform. And I don't know how to reset my scale. I don't know if I can in here or not. That gets me close. That looks pretty good. All right. So now let's see what happens when I click continue. All right. So it automatically makes a mock-up of the sweatshirt for me, and I don't even have to do it. I don't know why their window, this is weird, man. It's crazy. None of this stuff ever happens. When I'm recording and like editing my videos, like everything usually just works fine, right? But when you go live, everything breaks. I don't know why. But there is a mock-up of the sweatshirt, which is awesome. So now I could continue and either buy this sample within Printful, or I could add it. I could add it to my store from here, but that's kind of beyond the scope of what we're doing today. But it's literally that simple to create a graphic in Photoshop and throw it over into Printful. So that's how we work with our current apparel on our stores and how we're making things. But if you wanted to throw this into, let's say you wanted to do a mock-up further, we kind of went over this yesterday pretty much, so I won't go into too much detail, but we've got these hoodies here that we were kind of fooling around with. Let's pretend like we want to make another one. Fun fact, you guys probably know this, but just in case, this is the control key. So the shortcut for control is this little up arrow thing. There's shift. Well, that's truly an up arrow. Control is more like a little rooftop thing. That's option. That's command. So I don't know if that helps somebody, but that's what we're doing here. So I'm just holding down option to drag a copy of this artboard. Now I'm going to hold down shift to make it stay perfectly centered. And Photoshop will probably crash. Welcome to live streaming. I know, no joke. Oh, and the beach ball, but I don't know if you guys. Oh, it's not showing up because it's tiny compared to my cursor. There we go. Did I make a copy? No. All right, we're gonna try it this way then. I'm gonna click on the artboard name. I'm gonna hit Command J. I've got it over here in my layers panel. Artboard 1 is selected. I'm gonna hit Command J to jump cut the entire artboard with the art in it. Because what I want to do is make this sweatshirt white instead of yellow. So we're going to turn off that yellow color. Actually, let's turn off this logo too. And then we will bring over the one that we just did. All right, so we have this mock-up, and we pretty much did this same thing yesterday. So I don't want to spend too much time on this at all. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know what that red thing's coming from. The texture is showing up weird for me somehow. Cool. All right. And we're just going to real quick grab this layer style. So I'm going to double click on the layer just below the name, not in the name. I don't want to rename it. And we're going to scrub down the underlying layer, the black tones here. I think there we go. So that way those drawstrings cut through. Sweet. Looks good enough. All right, so now I've got the sweatshirt. And now I could use this in a mock-up, which we kind of started yesterday as well. So that's how I would bring in textures into a vector object and then start the mock-up process. And then, one step further without having to be the one photoshopping this, using Printful to get all those graphics. So let me check my notes real quick. I want to make sure I'm not forgetting anything because I was going to show you guys some other things too. Hang on for just a second. Chat amongst yourselves in the comments section. How's everybody doing with the whole coronavirus lockdown scenario? I know we're not totally locked down here, but we're not far from it. It'll be interesting to see how everything plays out. Let me pull up something else real quick. I had it pulled open and then voted. Oh, that's what I was going to do. I remember now. Did that close? Give me just a second, guys. Sorry about this. Here we go. All right, so back into playing with textures and things like that. So I showed you how you can make your own free texture. I kind of showed you how to define a brush. And let's try that again real quick and see if Photoshop is happier about life. So I'm gonna hit the letter L to get my lasso tool. I've got this image that we went to image, adjustments, and then down to threshold. That's how we made it look like this. All right, and now I can just grab a tiny bit of whatever texture I want. And instead of last time we just defined the whole canvas, if you just want to define a little bit, then you can come to edit, define. Is it define? Is it under edit? I can never remember. Define brush preset. Yeah, edit, define brush preset. There it is. So we come to edit, down to define brush preset with that little selection. And now you can see in my thumbnail that it's just what we have selected here. Okay, so let's jump back into Envato Elements. So I really, really like Envato Elements. There should be a link below this video if you guys want to check it out. Full disclosure, that helps me out. I get a little bit of a kickback if you guys join from my link. But there's so many great templates in here, from video templates when I make video bumpers for my tutorials, to graphics, to logo mockups, like everything you can imagine to help you become a better graphic designer. And, guys, I've been doing this for probably, 20 years now. And so, I don't know, a lot of people had a bad stigma about using stock art or clip art, as you might call it. And I feel like that stigma should go, because honestly, there's a fine line between being an artist and being a businessman or woman. And the point being is, if you want to be an artist and start from scratch, go for it. That's awesome. I do a lot of projects like that too, where you really want to own it and start from zero and make something cool. And on the flip side, if you've got a customer who needs something done and needs it done quickly, well, then it makes sense to start with a template to get up and running fast. And a good example of that would be a template for a website. So when you think about, if let's say you're building on WordPress or Squarespace or Wix or any of these web builders, you don't start with a white screen and completely build the template. No, you drop it in and then you start filling in your own content. So in the same way, that's kind of what we're doing with Envato Elements, is we're grabbing something that lets me get going much faster with, you know, a premium look, and then refining it and making it my own, and not trying to just pass it off as something that I created, but using these elements to get you there faster. So I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and take a look at this texture here real quick. All right, so this concrete textures, all I searched for was texture, and there's all kinds of different items. And so if I scroll down here, I found, oh, these are really cool. Check this out. So these add-ons, this distressed texture brush, I'm going to hold down the command key and click on this to open it in a new tab to come back and check that out. But what I really wanted, or I think what I really wanted, hopefully it's still down here. Oh, what the heck? Now I lost it. There it is. Graphics, gritty concrete textures. I'm going to command click on that as well. All right, so now we can jump in here. And oh my goodness, it looks so good. Look at all these brush presets, you guys. Look, would you just look at it? Oh my goodness, I can't wait. We're going to use these. This is going to be awesome. So I'm going to click download. And I've got all kinds of projects here. Where's mine? Where's mine? Derek, there we go. I want to throw it in here, so I'm going to add it to that project and download. That's just for licensing, so that way it knows who's using the files, but you're able to use them however you want. Come back into Finder, come back into my assets for this project. I'm just going to throw that download right in there so I can come back to it in a second. And let's jump into these gritty concrete textures, and let's download these real quick. All right. So these files, I think I can add to the downloads for you guys to check out in the assets for the vault. You're not allowed to use them commercially unless you were to get the license yourself, but you can use them for educational purposes. And then I'll have some of my own textures in there as well that you're free to use and do whatever you want. So we'll circle back to that in a minute. Where'd it go? Here we go. Come on. How long have I been live? Not very long. It's about this time yesterday where my computer started hating life. All right. So let's go ahead and unzip these folders. All right. Very cool. So this, you know, they're all going to have different file types. This one has some PNG files and some vector files. What's cool with that is you could use it in Illustrator as well. So let's just do a quick preview. It's really difficult to see, but you can see it's got a little bit of this grit texture to it. Oh, so cool. All right. So we can use this to further distress our artwork, or we could even use it as a subtle background. So I am not going to open up the EPS version because I don't think my computer can handle that right now with everything else it's doing. So we'll leave that alone. But it does have vector format as well. And let's take a look at this. Okay, so this brush, oh, this is awesome. All right, I'm going to open up the PSD for this. Okay, so okay, very cool. So here's how this artist made this file. So we've got this folder called Distress Texture Brushes. And then he's got his own footer for his branding, which is super cool. And we can even change his background color if we wanted to, just to kind of see, things. I don't know, why not? Click OK. And then if I wanted to define my own brush from what he's already done, you just turn on and off the layer, whichever one you want, right? And then I could even command click. This is a good shortcut, you guys. Command click on the thumbnail, and it's going to select any pixel data that it sees, which is a really cool tip, because then what I could do if I'm feeling fancy, well, two things. One, I could define this as the brush. So I could go to edit, define brush preset, and I could add this immediately as my own sampled brush. I could add to it or do whatever. So now it's a brush that I have in my library. Or I could even make a new layer below this, turn this one off, and it's just the selection, and I could fill it. I'm going to hit Option Delete to fill it with my foreground color. And now if I deselect this, you can see that I made a new layer from this other one. If I step back, I'm going to undo this real quick. With this selected, I could get a brush tool, the one that I just made actually, and I could paint in here. I could click and kind of start, oh, my opacity set to 20%. Let me fix that real quick. There we go, in the options bar. All right, so I could kind of click and drag and not really paint in the whole thing. So if I deselect this now, you'll see how this is different than the original. That was more full. So I don't know if that makes sense, you guys, but some really cool stuff you can do with this once you start making selections and grabbing these brushes and things like that. Or I could simply come back to this .abr file. And I don't know in the new version if I can just double click and load this. Let's see what happens. Okay, it doesn't know what to do with it. So what we're going to do is we are going to come into my brushes window. And this little flyout menu down to import brushes. And we are going to go find what we just downloaded. And grab this .abr file and click open. And now it should ask me, oh, but it didn't. Okay, so I think it just appended it to the bottom of my brushes here, the splatter brushes. Are those them? No, those are not them. There it is, GM Distress Texture Brushes. All right, so now all those brushes are in here if I want to use these brushes. So I could grab this new brush set that I grabbed. We'll click that. We'll come back over into this graphic here. I'm going to hide my brushes, painting on the mask with black, and I could continue to really erode away at this graphic even more. So that's how I would grab different assets and elements from Envato Elements and use them. Now here's another way we could use this. We have this gritty concrete texture, and let me jump back in and check that out. Mitch says 35 minutes. That was probably like 5-10 minutes ago. But yeah, it's about this time last time where it starts to kind of get angry about life. All right, let's jump into this other one that we downloaded. We've got the PNGs. So we've got all these textures. Oh, do I do it? Do I try and open up the Illustrator file? I could. I think I might. Sure, why not? All right, let's do it. EPS. I'm just going to open this one and see what we get. And then while it's thinking about that, I'm going to come back into this PNG format and let's make a graphic. FB group. Okay, so this was something that we kind of worked on yesterday. I'm going to click on this and we're just going to jump cut it to duplicate it. And let's add more texture to this thing. All right. So I'm going to grab any one of these because it's just for the sake of this tutorial. I'm just going to drag and drop right over the front. I'm going to hit return. And now you'll see the dark texture kind of hovers over everything. I can hold down Option and click in between the logo and the graphic I just brought in so it masks it just above here. But because I've got a color overlay, it actually hides it. So what I would do instead is, let me think about this for a second. Maybe... Oh man, I should have planned ahead. Probably let's group this. And now what happens if I do that? There we go. So I threw this logo into a group. So now when I make a mask, this texture gets masked over the top of that. So that's one way to work. We can also add a color overlay on top of this grunge texture we just brought in. Maybe sample it from the background. Click OK. And now you've added some texture to the word circus as well. And just adds another layer, another just a little more interest, visual interest to your graphic there. All right, let's see how Illustrator's doing. I know this is a Photoshop tutorial, but there we go. Okay, so the graphic that we downloaded was a vector file. So we could jump in here and you could modify any of these anchor points. These are all anchor points. We could immediately change the color real quick and easy if you wanted to. Let's you know, if we double click in here and we make it another color. There we go. Now our texture is a different color. We can do the same thing in Photoshop too, guys, but let's jump over here, or maybe over here. I'm getting too much going on. Now I'm bouncing around like crazy. We could command click on this smart object concrete texture and make that as a selection. So right now it's a smart object, but I can make a new layer, and now I could fill it with any color I wanted to. Let's just fill it with white so we can see what we're doing. Command D to deselect. And now this is looking real gross, but now this pattern that we brought in is just pixel data. And so I can manipulate this layer just like I would any other layer without it being a smart object. I could scrub down the opacity or maybe play with the blend mode. So this has obviously got a lot going on right now, but hopefully that shows you guys some cool tips for making apparel, adding some textures to make it look real, and starting to flesh out that brand. So anyway, yeah, Mitch, dude, definitely make your own texture set. There's the free versions. And then the other thing you guys could do as well. So you basically know how to make a texture. So let's see here. I did a YouTube video about, and it was also in Graphic Design Bootcamp Part 2. And I did a video about Adobe Capture, I think is the app's name. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you that is you can use your phone and the app Adobe Capture, this guy right here. So check out this video. You can smooth, and I show you how you can actually take pictures. Let's see, right about here, I think I do it. So I show you how to use the app to create basically the same kind of thing. So you could do this on the fly. So instead of having to try and make this stuff in front of Photoshop, you could be, walking down the road and be inspired by a street sign or by, text on the road, like a railroad crossing or something, anything you can capture with your phone, you could bring it in, and then you could save it and immediately have it show up in your library panel here in Photoshop or in any of the apps you use, and then immediately start using it. So that's really cool. And then one step further, join, I don't know how it works with Envato Elements, but you could also check out Creative Market. And you can join as a contributor. So you could actually sell this kind of stuff as well. So you could jump in, make your own stuff, Mitch, and then jump in here and try and sell it. And it's a pretty dense market right now. I think its peak was probably a couple years ago. But man, if you can make a few extra bucks while you're sleeping, that's the way to do it. So I should put stuff in here. I don't know why I haven't done anything yet, but I don't have anything in Creative Market. I think there's a guy, I forget his name. Let's see if he's in here. Retro Supply. Is he on here? Or maybe he's in another marketplace. I'm forgetting. Anyway, Retro Supply was his business name, and there's a ton of super cool graphics. Or if you just search for retro in general, you guys are going to see a lot of really cool stuff like this that might be inspiring in your next project. So, what else? Hey, this might be, it's top secret, but I'm actually going to be co-instructing a course about typography with another popular instructor on Udemy. And we are going to be making a full out course about typography. And I think one of the sections we're going to do is teaching you how to submit fonts to the font libraries and make money doing that too. So that'll be a cool thing. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. That went a lot faster than I had anticipated. So I would love your feedback or your comments. I'll be checking those out real quick. Another plug for those of you who are checking this out and you're not a member of the Vault. I would love to see you join. And when you join the Vault, that's not what I meant to do, this one. So when you join the Vault, like I said, you get all of the courses that I've ever done. You get access to all the new stuff that I will be creating, stuff like this that hasn't even been made yet. That'll be posted. You'll get all the assets for the stuff that we've been doing. And then what I think is honestly probably the most valuable thing that I really should charge a lot more for. So it starts at $10 a month if you want to kick the tires and check it out. But you'll get access to our Slack channel. So as an example, are you in there right now, Mitch? Are you in Slack? You could jump in here and I could say, oh, there. And now I immediately messaged him and He can text me back if he wants or not. But we've got a ton of people in here, lots of great threads where we're helping people out, giving people exact feedback on file dimensions and ideas for making money and different tools and resources. So what's cool about this is Slack is a direct instant messaging tool. Let's see here. Give me a second. Boom. All right. So I've got it up on my phone. So it's basically like you're getting access to text me. What's up, Mitchell? No problem. Each of your videos always give me something new. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So Mitchell's watching the live right now. One of the only ones. Where is everybody? What are you guys doing? Watching Netflix and waiting for the world to crumble? I don't know. Anyway, so basically it's like having live coaching with me. So it helps me out, helps me continue to do what I'm doing, but also more than anything, I want to be available to you guys to help you out as you get stuck with graphic design. So I don't want this to be something that's just me teaching you random tidbits of information that hopefully you like. I want it to be a very specific answer to a question that you have that you're looking for feedback for, business questions, how I got started, how you can get started, how you can find work, whether that's on Upwork or as a freelancer going solo or getting that job you're looking for. So my goal is really to help you provide for yourself, for your family, and hopefully save you all of the pain and agony that my wife and I have gone through trying to figure it out for the last, we've been married, I think 13 years now, coming up on 13 years. So we've spent a lot of time and money and energy and thought, and we've done a lot of things right. We've done a lot of things wrong, trying to figure it out. And so that's part of what the Freelance Circus is about too. That'll be coming. That'll be mostly her baby, where she's teaching you guys the business end of freelancing and how she's helped us make a living doing this thing. So lots of really cool stuff coming up, and a lot of it's based on your feedback, guys. So when you join the vault and you get that direct access to me, I can kind of cater what we're learning to help you out. So that's what I've got for the day. Hey, Mitch, I'll be around on Slack after this if you want to hang out. Some of the other guys too. I think we're going to be around chatting, and that's what I know for the day. We'll be broadcasting again same time tomorrow. What is today? Even Wednesday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we've got 3 more days of that live 1 o'clock broadcast. And then these files are going to be posted for replay up in the Vault member area if you want to rewatch what we've been learning. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Very appreciative of your support and would love your feedback on both this video, the series, as well as future content, which you're looking for and how I can help you out. So have an awesome day, stay safe, and enjoy this time with your family. We'll talk to you later. Or we might keep talking now. I got to figure out how to turn off this live. Where's my button? Everything's hidden. I don't know. That's what I get. There we go. There it is. All right. See you guys later.